And good morning, everybody. Welcome. Hot Takes, Goodman and Renck. How is Indianapolis these days, Troy?
Cold. We got spoiled the last couple of years. It is frigid. But, Indy, I don't know if you've been to this combine. You can stay inside once you get downtown without leaving. So through the convention center, it's like a little bit of a maze. But, yeah, it's a lot of people. I was able to see 2 or 3 people I hadn't seen in years yesterday to talk shop. So it's a really cool gathering. And now today, George Paton and Sean Payton talked to me.
All right, before we get to that, I want to tell you about Roller Auction, the leader in Colorado auctions for over 50 years. On Thursday, Planet Open Box is having an auction for factory returned home goods, electronics, and general merchandise. The bidding has started at rollerauction.com. And to learn about upcoming auctions, go to the same website, rollerauction.com. They have so many great things. Go check it out. You'll probably find something that you like. And then you can go check out their auction and see how quickly you can get something that you want at the price you want. With that, time now for, the lead.
The lead is presented by Smokin' Dave's Barbecue. It is not just the best barbecue in town, it is one of the best restaurants in town. You can find Smokin' Dave's Barbecue off 36th and Pecos.
Okay, Sean Payton, George Paton, meeting the media today at the Combine. Generally speaking, media in this type of environment can ask one question to each guy, generally speaking. But Troy, if you could ask 3 questions to either guy, both guys, what would they be?
Well, number one is Sean Payton. Who's calling the plays? That's number one. Are you calling the plays? Is Davis Webb calling the plays? What is the role going to look like with Davis Webb? I tried to talk to sources about it last night, and I was basically told, ask Sean. That's his question to answer. So that's number one.
Do you think that I'm sure he is prepared to answer it the way he wants to, but do you really think he has made a decision and he is going to disclose it?
I think he's probably made a decision. I don't know that he's going to fully disclose it because it might box him in. Sean's not going to box himself in February for something that might happen in August or September. But to me, Eric, there's just no way if you connect the dots that Davis Webb would have stayed without more responsibility. We just don't know what that looks like. Is that in the game plan? Is that in the passing game? Is it in actual play calling? Is it situational play calling? But there's no way Webb would have stayed when he had opportunities to leave. There's no way he would have stayed with the same exact role, just a change in title. So what Sean Payton tells us, I don't know. But typically with Sean, in these situations, he can't help himself. So we'll see. But I don't think he's going to be completely revealed. And he might not know. He might say, we're still figuring that out. That's the easy out.
Right. All right. What else would you ask, George or Sean?
Well, when they're looking at this roster, are they going to be honest with themselves and admit they don't have a Super Bowl offense? So do you have a Super Bowl winning offense? If not, which would be my contention, where is it important that you upgrade? Is that receiver? Is that tight end? Is that running back? My guess is when this thing's all done, not just the combine, but free agency, the running back's the most likely because all you need in the running back is cash and a routing number. And you can get one of these guys between Breece Hall, Travis Etienne, and Kenneth Walker.
Yeah.
If the trade market for the receivers, I've suggested Jaylen Waddle, it's complicated. And I don't know that they want to do that. I'm saying it's available. But the draft is so much stronger in receiver than other positions. I don't see them, Eric, playing on a receiver, even though I think they should. But what position of need do you think you want to address? What is a priority? And again, I think they'll say in their answers, we'll get an idea of how they're thinking. It might be you have to piece together 3 or 4 answers. But I do think we're going to walk away from today going, okay, it's pretty clear that position A is a priority.
Okay, just for fun, of those 3 running backs that you just named, Walker, Hall, and Etienne, if you had to guess, are one of these guys on the roster this upcoming season, or will it be somebody else? And somebody else, you don't have to name, but do you think it'll be somebody else?
Well, I think Rico Dowdy you could keep an eye on him from the Panthers. Of those 4, I think one of them's on the roster. And Hall, you're going to have to pay, like really pay. He's going to set the market. So that's why I'm a little apprehensive to predict Hall. For me, it's likely going to be ATN or someone else. That's my prediction right now.
And that's exactly what I would say as well. He's a really good player. and he's not going to break your bank. And chances are Breece Hall will go first,
right?
Or Kenneth Walker will go first. Let one of those guys set the market, and third in line is going to be Etienne. And then let's see what happens with Rico Dowdle.
And Etienne does profile for a Sean Payton offense in terms of his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. So he's a fit. It's not like, oh, they're settling. I mean, the issue with Travis is, can he stay healthy? And they've had, as you've talked about as much as anyone, they've had a history of keeping guys healthy for the most part. So I just don't think they're going to set the market with Hall, because you're going to have to set the market with Hall to get him.
How much do you think in some ways Javonte Williams set the floor?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy for Javonte.
$8 million a year? That's the floor. When you look at the other three guys and maybe even Dowdle.
You're basing that on his guaranteed money, the $16 million guaranteed, right?
All of it together,
Yeah. So, listen, I'm happy for him, number one.
And by the way, guaranteed money for Greg Penner is a nothing burger.
Right, exactly. That's where they have a huge advantage in situations like this, is they can upfront money like no other team in theory. Javonte Williams, people ask me, they should have been patient with him. Listen, it was time for a fresh start for both of them. He was exhausted here. He needed a fresh start, and it wasn't working. He was averaging like 3.7 yards a carry over 2 years. You can't be a starter in the league and be under 4. Now, can we look back and blame some of that on the scheme? I think that's fair. With new guys in, we did see with J.K. Dobbins, the scheme worked. It just feels like for some reason, the way they block their run game, they get caught in between being a wide zone team, Eric, and a regular power team. And so that's not helpful to their running backs, but that is the floor. That is the floor. That's why everyone thinks Hall's going to get, $11 million a year, AAV. And then that means I would think Etienne would come in just, above Javonte Williams, but not significantly. Right. I think, let's say he's 8.5 or 9, right? What do you think?
I think that's the right area to go to. I think he'll be somewhere between 8.5 and 10. I don't think he crosses 10.
Yeah, there'd have to be a kind of competing teams to get him over 10 for me. Correct. Because of the injury history and because he's the third guy, it would appear, behind Hall and Walker.
Okay, let's role play for a second. I will be a reporter. I'll call myself Eric, and you can be Sean Payton. Here comes your question. At the end of the season, Sean, you talked about Bo Nix's injury. And it seemed like when Bo met the media, he wasn't very happy with what you said. How differently would you answer the question about Bo, knowing how Bo felt the way you originally answered it?
That I was referring to a stress fracture, not previous injuries. My joke about his previous ankle injuries fell flat the night he was hurt. If I had to do it over again, I would have been more vague, as I usually am with injuries. I was trying to explain the situation, and explaining it, I made it more complicated. And I know better than anyone not to reveal too much about injuries. So I understand why Bo took exception. We talked it out. We typically go back and forth, and you see us yelling at each other on the sidelines. It's part of our love language. But typically I don't talk about injuries, and hindsight, I probably should not have talked about injuries this time either.
Outside of Sean Payton being asked about who's going to be calling plays, because that bite, whoever asks it, will be run over and over and over again, because really that is probably the number one question that needs to be asked. What I just asked you, if Sean gave that exact answer that you just gave, how long are the legs for that one over the next 24 hours during the news cycle?
I mean, that wouldn't get as long as the play calling one.
No, that's number one.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, can you think of something else that would get more attention through sports talk radio, podcast, TV, newspaper, print than that question about Bo Nix?
No, because he's the quarterback, and everyone knows who they are now with the Broncos. And so any question about Bo and Sean will immediately move to the front of the queue outside of who's calling plays. And there might be a better answer is that indication of your relationship? Is there tension? A national writer might ask that. I don't believe that. So I don't like to ask questions that I know the answers to, because you only get like 8-9 questions in that thing. So I don't want to ask a question that I feel like I 100% know the answer to, even though, people on Twitter ask him this and that. And it's like, I don't want to waste a question on something. When I'm writing a story, I need answers to stuff that works. And so, but I do think someone will probably ask, is there tension in their relationship? Is the relationship fractured? That it'll be interesting to see if that is asked directly, if Sean will take the bait and get, defensive and become volatile Sean, or will he be like, really? If you know us, that's silly. Like, I don't know. It's hard to predict, because he is really forthcoming for the most part on the podium.
I agree with you. Don't ask questions that you know the answer to. I mean, you and I have been to plenty of press conferences together. There's a small handful of us that are not shy about asking questions, specifically questions that the subject doesn't want to answer. But I think the way that I asked the question and you gave the answer, do not ask the question, how's your relationship with Bo? First of all, you're going to get a snarky response. Secondly, you already know exactly what he is going to say. I think with asking about how would you have done it differently, you don't know how he's going to answer that.
Right, you appeal to his ego. It's a more fair question that you're not being presumptive. Basically, like your relationship's fractured. Your thoughts. That's when you do that, is when you put the person answering on defensive. Like, wait, did I say it was fractured? Now someone might get the bite they want, but I just don't play that game, especially when you're on the beat all the time. It's a great bite, but you have to be there every day. Like, you don't want to be the guy that is known for the gotcha question. Well, that's different from a tough question. A gotcha question and a tough question are two different things for me.
The question I just asked, is that a gotcha question?
No, that's a fair question.
Okay, so with that,
the gotcha question is, your relationship's fractured with Bo Nix. How do you repair it? Like,
that's a stupid question.
But those are the ones you'll sometimes get in settings like this, because people don't care and they want to make the news.
So let me ask you. Generally speaking, the Broncos, when Patrick Smythe points at media members, there is a pecking order for the first 1 or 2 questions. Generally speaking, correct me if I'm wrong, sometimes you're part of those 1 or 2 questions, but usually it's somebody else. Is that fair to say?
That is correct.
Okay. Same thing with me as well. I'm usually at the end, even if I get a question in, because I'm not there as much as you are. So we're going to make the assumption he is going to be asked about play calling. How about you ask that one?
The issue with the combine, they don't pick the person. It's like there'll be 50 people in front of a podium, and it's people yelling out questions. So it's a little weird, like, because I'll be standing right in front of him.
Yeah.
And you'll ask it, but there'll be somebody saying, what do you think of Declan is now the coordinator of the Ravens? The problem with the combine, there'll be like 7 questions about Sean's former assistants. Do you think Aaron Glenn can survive his second year? Is Declan Doyle qualified to be the offensive coordinator with his experience? Like, those are going to be from national, and I understand why they're here to do their stories on guys Sean were on his staff, but that's why it's not Patrick pointing to us. The only thing they have is an NFL rep there who eventually looks down and goes, okay, that's it. Last question. The first year we did this with Sean, it was so great. It just gave you even a better feel for Sean. He was going. He was on one, because Sean gets on one. And when he does, those are the days to just pepper him with questions, because he wants that. The first time he was at the combine with the Broncos, obviously the Russell Wilson thing is, front of the lobe here. But he was going and going, and one of the guys who I knew from the NFL was like, okay, that's the last question. And Sean turned to him and did the old, I'll decide when the press conference is over. Thank you.
Right.
Then last year it was much closer to like 12 minutes. They're slotted 15 minutes. That first year he went like 27 minutes. Last year I think he went like 13. So we'll see. I heard he might be under the weather. So we'll see. He might not be. I would doubt he's up there regaling us with tales. Again, the problem is if it's 13 minutes, for example, and 6 of the questions are about his former assistants, that's when it kind of stinks, to be honest.
I'm sure there's plenty of talk out there at the combine about some coaches who decided to show up, some GMs who decided to show up and not show up, so on and so forth. How important do you think it is, and what is the temperature out there about head coaches and GMs not being there?
It's weird because some teams that have done it that way, specifically the Rams, they started this where they sent very little of their staff. They've had success, and their drafts are amazing. So in the way they run their process, it works. When I talked to a couple GMs last night, they were like, I want to see the guy in front of me. I want to, does he have a presence? Is there some leadership stuff? Is he shy? Is he different? Is he, because they've talked to all their coaches, everyone but their elementary school teacher, and they just want to, I want to be the one to ask you, what is it like? But it does come up. I know it's weird, but it's just like a job interview where you walk in and like, man, I click with this guy. It feels right. Or it's like, something's not there. Like he processes different. He's nervous. And then it's not everything. And everyone says that to you here. But some of them want to see how they handle being put on the spot and what is their presence in a room full of pro coaches to get an idea. Is this guy coachable? Is he comfortable in our environment? It's not foolproof. I talked to a GM last night. I was like, man, there's times we were like, oh, clearly this guy's going to work. And then he got in our building and it didn't. But they do feel like they want to feel the presence of it. Can you do that over Zoom? Sure, yeah, probably. I mean, again, with younger kids who've grown up in it now since COVID, it's not different. But if it were me, I'd definitely want to have the person in front of me. But when they drafted Pat Surtain, they didn't meet with him here. They didn't want anyone to know they loved him. And they were taking him from jump once they decided they didn't want Micah Parsons.
That was the same thing with Jay Cutler when it was Shanahan and Sundquist.
Right.
I talked to a former GM last night about that, who's no longer in the league. And he said to me, absolutely, it's important to be there. He told me what he looks for are a number of things. But one was the interaction that players have with other players on the field when they are doing their drills. He wants to see those interactions. He wants to see guys from small schools standing next to a guy in line. The guy in front of him went to Georgia. The guy behind him went to Ohio State. How is he going to react in that moment? It's more that stuff than the actual drills.
Right.
You're right. And it's getting to know them, but getting to see them and how they carry themselves. That to me seems to be a very big value, or it was a very big value for him. And I'm guessing it's for, the current GMs and head coaches now.
Well, here's an example. And it's a little off topic, but Quinn Miners at the Senior Bowl, he's from Wisconsin Whitewater. He has the legend of being Paul Bunyan and working out in Canada, picking up trees. He breaks his hand like the first practice, but every time they looked up, he was next to the guy from the SEC, just basically say, come on, I want that matchup. And Chris Harris, that's how he distinguished himself, is he would purposely get in line to face the number one receiver. That stuff matters to guys.
Yeah.
They're like, he's seeking out competition. He wants to smoke. Some guys are like protecting themselves. I don't want to get hurt. And I get it, but those are the things to the point that you talk to that GM. When a guy's looking for competition, he's showing confidence in this environment of the best. That's where you're like, man, this guy's got a shot. And if all things are equal, maybe they think back to that moment of saying, hey,
right,
when it was his turn, he wasn't looking to hide. He wanted to smoke.
And it's not so much about how many reps you do at 225. There's fierce competition at that combine. Are you going to rise to the occasion, or are you going to wilt under the pressure?
And that's part of it. I mean, it sucks. It does when you've played 4 years or 5 years.
That has nothing to do with throwing the ball, running, has nothing to do with catching the ball, 3-cone drill. It's who are we getting as this person? Sean has said he has his criteria. You wrote that in a column as well on the things that he looks for. How much do you love football? How high is your football IQ?
Right.
But how are you going to fit into our locker room? And are you that competitive guy? Just not an asshole. I mean,
it's funny. I talked to a former player last night about that point. Sorry to interrupt you. And they were saying to me about, we would 100% let management know if this guy, we don't think he's going to fit. Now, they don't make the choices. But that's why when you and I were talking about A.J. Brown, I was talking to this player about it. And it was like, we would let him know. It doesn't mean it would prevent him from doing it.
Yeah.
But we didn't get to the part of the conversation of, is there enough good guys in a locker room that if a guy comes in who's kind of a meatball, that you guys would conform him to your standard? And I don't know if they're there. I think they are, if it meant winning the Super Bowl, but it'll be interesting because, like we bring up Randy Moss with the Patriots, Corey Dillon with the Patriots. If you were going to go after an A.J. Brown, for instance, hypothetically, would that matter? But these things, it does all matter. Like, it's the idea that you're not playing fantasy football. It's not Madden. Like, there are personalities. You're dealing with huge egos, huge type A. And how do you make those puzzle pieces fit? And I know people don't like Sean Payton. I understand it. But I'm saying from where I observe it, he is really good about keeping guys in line and keeping them focused on a goal, even when shit goes wrong.
Yeah.
They have a bad game. How many times have we seen the Broncos, outside of September's, but where they have a bad game and then have another bad game? Like, they just don't with him, really. They don't go on these outside of that first September. He keeps it right. But part of it, the reason it works is he's got guys in the room who are rudders, who are carrying the message through to other players. It's like, hey, this will work. We got to, instead of every time the coach talks, we look sideways like, really? That's part of the genius of this. And people can say that's had nothing to do with it. I'm just telling you, I've covered enough professional coaches in 35 years. The culture piece, however you define whatever, it does matter.
So real quick, let's talk about the 15-minute interview and interactions that you see between player and other players at the combine. I'm not trying to pick on this guy, although it's going to seem like that I am. And this is all in hindsight as well. If you were at the combine and you were an NFL team and you had an opportunity to sit down with Jerry Jeudy, knowing the interactions you had with Jerry Jeudy in the locker room. I don't mean Jerry Judy's a bad guy. That's not what I'm referring to. There are certain guys with major character issues. But for the amount that you have talked to and listened to Jerry Jeudy, is he a guy you would have drafted in the first round?
I would have.
I would not have come close to him.
Because I got to know Jerry. I went to a bunch of his camps, talked to him off the side. He really, really, really knows football. And Alabama guys in those interviews, everyone I talked to, they ace them because they got coached by Saban.
Correct.
And they just are really good in those situations. So I'll be honest, I would have probably still drafted him. He had other things that I didn't realize maybe how easily he'd get distracted by other stuff and bothered by stuff.
Yeah.
But I would have. I'm not going to sit here and say I would have. But I got to know Jerry through his camps and talk football with him.
I'm sure he's a nice guy. He is a me guy, not a we guy. And that to me is the line of demarcation. But
he wasn't at Alabama. He wasn't even close to that at Alabama. That's what I'm saying. If you go back to when you would have been interviewing him, He wasn't. Saban went to bat for him. I know that 100% that he's like, this guy played hurt. He practiced hurt. He never begged off. So all the intel I would have had then, I would have taken it. But when he got to the Broncos, the thing that you can't judge, like you don't know a guy's heart, right? You don't know the thing we didn't know is losing drove him batshit crazy, and the quarterback issue. The idea he could not get on the same page as Russell drove him mad.
Okay. So you remember all of those social media posts?
Yeah. Immature.
No, running routes.
Right.
Did that happen before the draft or after the Broncos drafted him?
It was both.
Okay. With that to me is boom, not taking him.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's a look at me guy. Okay. Jerry Rice was a look at me guy, but in a very different way.
I'm just telling you, behind the scenes, he wasn't viewed that way. He was viewed as a guy who was endlessly frustrated by the play calling and the quarterback. And he felt like he couldn't say, because I would talk to him privately and he would be like, do you watch the film? Do you think it's me or the quarterback? And I would tell him, you're open. The problem is when the play breaks down, you haven't figured out how to put yourself in front of the quarterback's eyes.
Correct. He never came back to the ball.
Right. So his argument is, I'm running the right route. I'm open. And I'm like, you're right. But the play's not over. And so you're right about the quarterback screwing you the first 3 seconds of the play. But when it keeps going, that becomes back on you. And he never was able to get in sync with that. Then he shows up with Jameis Winston, and he looks like the best player in the league. And then last year, other than Troy Franklin, he had the worst yards per catch on targets. That's why when I said this thing about Waddle, it was Judy had like a 700 yards last year on like 130 targets. And the only guy even close to him like that was Troy Franklin.
Yep. All right. So we just got done talking about one Alabama wide receiver. Coming up next, we're going to talk about another one, a guy that you think should be in Denver playing for the Broncos next year. That's next. Everyone has their favorite sports bar. Mine, the Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, DTC, and now in Parker. All their locations are everything a sports bar should be. An upscale menu with 12 different burgers, outstanding wings, and my favorite, the Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. They've got every game on the NFL Sunday Ticket, MLB Extra Innings, NHL Center Ice, NBA League Pass, plus soccer, rugby, and UFC. Sportsbook, great hangout bar, great for private parties. The Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, DTC, and now in Parker. They are the sports bar.
Ferguson's Heating and Cooling is the best in Denver, and their customers agree. Ferguson's has 165 5-star Google reviews, and here's one from Betsy. Highly professional, prompt, and honest. I switched to Ferguson's when I became aware my former company was trying to sell me a whole new system I didn't need. Ferguson's is an honest, working, family-owned business that'll give you a fair price, the highest quality parts and equipment, and they always show up on time. You can trust the Ferguson family like you trust your own family. Go to fergusonsheatingandcooling.com.
Ever wondered where city and county fleet vehicles go when they retire? Now's your chance to find out and score big. Imagine driving away with a great deal on a reliable vehicle. For over 45 years, Roller Auction has been the trusted source for government fleet vehicles and equipment. Trucks, SUVs, sedans, and more, all selling to the highest bidder. Don't miss out. Visit roller.bid/hot takes to get auction updates today. Your next vehicle could be just a click away.
Everyone has their favorite barbecue spot. Mine, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew. My favorites, slowly smoked ribs, smoked corned beef Reuben, smoked meatloaf with a portobello balsamic cream sauce. And don't forget about Smokin' Dave's 16-hour smoked brisket and pork with one of their 4 homemade barbecue sauces. Great sides, you bet. Barbecue beans made with pork and brisket and their southern corn bake. Man, you got to try it. Plus, they have amazing non-barbecue entrees on the menu. Go where I go, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew in North Denver.
Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos in Black Hawk have another incredible promotion. They'll be giving away a Ford Maverick Tremor truck or nearly $25,000 in cash the weekend of May 16th. Earn daily entries with every locked-up jackpot or by redeeming points on your player card. You can also earn a chance to win during their daily cash drawings every 45 minutes between 10 a.m. and midnight. Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos, loose slots, great promotions, great food, and a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
And welcome back. Hot Takes Goodman and Renck as Troy is on location at the Combine in Indianapolis. Time now for What's Trending.
What's Trending is presented by Ferguson's Heating and Cooling. Your family should trust the Ferguson family for all your heating and cooling needs, and you'll see why they have over 165 5-star Google reviews. Make an appointment today at fergusonsheatingandcooling.com.
I am sure that Sean Payton loves nothing more than taking advice from the media. With that, you gave him and George Paton some advice. In a column that you wrote earlier this week, you think the Broncos should trade for Jaylen Waddle, who the Broncos tried to get at the trade deadline. What do you think is the right price to get him? And if the deal included either a first or a second-round pick, is that a deal breaker?
First for 100% is a deal breaker. But let me go back. It's like if it looks like a duck and it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's clearly Waddle, Eric, for the former Duck. Listen, they wanted a first-round pick at the deadline. Nobody's given a first-round pick for Jaylen Waddle. Yeah. Second-round pick, I'm not giving that either. I'm going to offer him a third, and I'm going to offer him Troy Franklin. And if that doesn't do it, I'm going to offer him DeAndre Tillman because they just let go of Bradley Chubb, and I'm going to offer him a third. And if they want me to throw in a seventh, I'll throw in a seventh. But I'm not going a first or second rounder because the draft's too good at receiver to do that. But I just think it gets frustrating. And again, it requires perspective. They had a great season. So in some ways, it's like, this sounds like we're needling at something. But they are so much more in love with their receiving group than the rest of the world. It at times is just weird.
Is it kind of like the Rockies when Dick Monfort was running the show, how he felt about the guys in his locker room?
No, I would think it's more like Dan O'Dowd when they fell in love with their prospects. So it's smart guy, but they fall in love with your prospects and they won't ever trade them. It's like, oh, we love Chris Iannetta. We love acting like nobody's ever tradable. We love Barnes. We love acting like, I know, but it's Hop. Like, well, at some point you hold on to them too long, you suffocate them.
Yeah.
And they have no value. So at least it's more fair like that. Like, Dan was good at things he did, but they would never trade their guys ever until they had no value, whether it was Ian Stewart. I mean, pick a guy. Although that one worked out with DJ LeMahieu. But it's just with their receiving group, they keep, oh, this guy's amazing. Oh, we just love. I heard this last night from a guy who's familiar with their thing. He's like, oh, they love their receiver group. And I'm like, I know, but it doesn't translate on Sundays.
Right. Now,
if they told me they love Mims and they had a plan for Mims, I'd be like, okay, I'm on board with that. Because every time he gets the ball, he does something. Right. But he gets the ball like every fourth game. When you keep telling me it's Franklin, year over year, he was great, Eric. But is he ready to win a Super Bowl? That's the thing. The conversation has changed. If they won 8 or 9 games last year, it's easier to be patient with everyone. And they could turn out to be right. I just look at it. Sutton is toward the back end of the one receivers in the league.
Yeah.
He's probably, what would you say he is? If you said there's 32 clear number ones, where would you put Sutton?
19 or 20.
Exactly. So.
Oh, I'm glad I gave the right answer. I was afraid.
But where's Franklin?
I didn't get the right answer.
And then, so where's Franklin as a 2? As a guy who got 100+ targets?
He is potential. That's all he is.
So let's say if you're ranking number 2 receivers in the league, saying there's 32, he's probably what, 25th?
He's potential.
Right.
We know what we have in Sutton. Okay. We know in theory what we have in Mims. With Franklin, he is up and down. When he's great, he's really, really good. And then you have plenty of bad games. What makes a great player great? Consistency.
But he's not dynamic. That's the thing with Waddle. Waddle and Sutton have pretty much the same statistics over the last 3 years, and Waddle has better over 5. He's relatively healthy. Has he missed a game? Sure, he has. Most guys do miss some games. But if you had a 1A and a 1B, now on third down, it feels like Bo doesn't have to be like, where's Sutton? Where's Sutton on the crossing route? Where's Sutton on the 50-50 ball? Now, maybe Pat Bryant emerges in that role some as he was toward the end of the season, but now he's got a bit of an injury history.
Okay, so if you had a choice, Waddle or Njoku? Because Njoku would easily be an option on third down.
It's funny you say that. I would take Waddle because I have not seen Sean Payton use the tight end in the passing game. And I got burned last year.
Not here.
Right. And I got burned last year.
But wait, in New Orleans, he has a long track record of using tight ends.
Right. But Njoku's not like Jimmy Graham or Jeremy Shockey. That's why I thought Ingram was going to get used, and I got burned. I was like, oh, my God, this is perfect. He's going to have a middle of the field, stick route guy on third down. That never developed.
Well, explain why then. What is different between Njoku and then Shockey and Graham?
Njoku can do it. He's an inline guy. He's a blocker. He's going to be in line. Shockey and Graham are slot receivers who end up flexing.
I understand that, but if you chose to use Njoku in that role as just catching passes, he'd be terrific.
But the problem is,
I know he has an extra skill set that those other guys did not have. I'm just talking about catching the ball on third down.
I agree. And he has done that in the past. But if you do that, you have to pair him with a tight end that can block. So when he's in there, it's not obvious you're passing. That's what happened with Ingram. They didn't play him. He played 42% of the snaps because basically I would have to go back and look. But I bet of the 42% of the snaps he was in, they probably threw the ball 90% of the time.
Right.
That's the problem. And that's why like a Chad Otten from Tampa Bay, is he a better version of Adam Troutman that you actually want on the field and you will throw to? But I'm as much as I like Njoku, I wrote they should have got him at the deadline before. I like Njoku, and he's really good in the red zone. I just don't have a lot of confidence they're going to use him in the way that it would make sense to give up, draft picks.
Waddle's only 27, 2 years left
Right.
on his deal. Cap hit this year, $11.7 million. For this upcoming season, next year, $34 million. So if the Broncos trade for him, do you renegotiate with him this year or next year? And if not this upcoming season, would this be their big spend for the offseason?
I think they have room for two because they can restructure. People forget with the cap. The cap's a little bit of monopoly money. If you want to manipulate the cap, you can if you have money to convert to a signing bonus.
Correct.
They gave out 10 extensions over the last year and a half.
Right.
You can go to almost any one of those guys and convert a chunk of it to a signing bonus. So everyone's like, they have 28 million. They don't have all this money. They could easily. Right. Just like they did with Mahomes in Kansas City. I mean, you pick 2 or 3 guys you go to, whether it's McGlinchey, Benito, but Surtain, like pick the big ones, minors, and you could easily have 2 splashes. I think they're going to make 2 splashes this offseason. One absolutely is going to be a playmaker, whether it's running back, tight end, or receiver. It feels like, as we sit here today, it's more likely a running back because it's seamless and it doesn't involve draft picks. But I just can't believe they're going to look at their roster after self-scouting and believe they have enough offensively to win a Super Bowl.
Well, the saying goes, you do what you can in free agency, and then you supplement with the draft, right? In this particular draft, the talent pool is very shallow at running back,
right,
at tight end, so you can almost predict what the Broncos are thinking and what they're targeting. It doesn't mean they're going to execute it, but you would have to think they're going to go after one of those 4 running backs that we talked about at the top of the podcast.
And let's remember, last year they got Talanoa Hufanga. They got Dre Greenlaw. They got Evan Ingram. I mean, they pretty much every position they targeted, they got.
Well, hit the brakes on that. They got all 3 of those guys because they were all coming off injuries, and they got them at a pretty decent price. That's not going to be the case with Njoku or Breece Hall or Kenneth Walker or Dowdle or Etienne or whoever else they're going to look at tight end. None of those guys are coming at a discount. Those 3 guys did. That's why they were able to fill in.
But there was still a market for them. There was still a market for each of them.
They all got big. The Broncos got 3 big names who have proven ability. They have shown they can play in this league at a high level. All 3 have shown that. But they all came at discounted prices because of their injury situations. The guys they are looking at today will not have those same injury situations where their price gets chopped down.
Etienne might impact him a little bit because he's missed enough time to where there might be a little bit of pause with him. But they also set the market with right tackle with McGlinchey and with guard with Powers. They played both ways of this. They've been at the top of the market and then been the shrewd, let's get that second wave. I just think for offense, they're going to have to spend big for one item. It's whether that's draft pick compensation and money, or it's just you're going to have to be close to the top of the market at running back to get the one you want.
You can have one of these 5 guys: Njoku, Walker, Hall, Etienne, or Waddle. Who do you want?
Go again. Let me hear him one more time. The 5.
You can have one of those 4 running backs that we just talked about. You could have Njoku, or you can have Waddle. Pick the guy that you want. Who is at the top of your priority list?
Running back now, because I just think it's more realistic. I would say, for me, it's Breece Hall and or Etienne.
Why not Kenneth Walker?
I don't know if Sean trusts him in the passing game, and I can't spend huge money if he's a 2-down back.
Kenneth Walker is terrific out of the backfield.
He's not.
No?
Historically, he's not. He's been better.
Yep.
I just don't know. There's enough questions about people I trust that are like, he's kind of a 2-down back. I'm like, oh, God. I can't spend top of the market if a guy's going to end up coming off the field for the Tyler Badets of the world. Give me a break. So I'm a little weary on that one. I like him. I like him more than most. People forget he was a CU guy, Eric. He was a Mel Tucker guy at CU.
Who was?
Kenneth Walker.
Well, how come he couldn't lead them to a championship like he did the Seahawks?
He traveled. He went with Mel to Michigan State when Midnight Mel left.
Midnight Mel. Midnight Mel. Yeah, I mean, when you look at his receiving yards, over the course of his career, this past season, caught 31 passes, then 46, then 29, then 27, 9 yards a catch this past season. Remember, the guy is still a young player.
I agree. I like him. I'm worried that Sean doesn't see it that way. After 3 years of covering Sean, I'm worried that he doesn't see him as a true receiver. And if he doesn't, he won't be on the field on third down.
Well, let me ask you, has he shown enough ability, demonstrated ability? That's Sean's words.
Yep.
Has he shown enough demonstrated ability where you can make him a 3-down back?
For me, yes.
Right. And that's my point exactly.
But that's how I felt about Ingram last year. And what happened? He became Casper the Ghost.
But Ingram was injured. Ingram played with bad teams.
Yeah. He set almost an all-time record for receptions for a tight end 2 years ago. And then when he got to the Broncos, there were no health issues. 0. Now, you could argue might have been a declining player.
Yep.
Like some guys, this, you cover pro sports. Sometimes that all of a sudden they go over and you're like, hey, he might be on the hole 15 of the back 9 here. And I thought he was on hole 11. Right. And that happens. But the way it happened with Ingram, I'm trying to be a little more cognizant of not how I think someone's going to fit, how Sean might see him fit. But I just believe 100% they're going to get an offensive weapon. They can't, Eric, leave this offseason without an upgrade where you point to that guy and go, that guy can win him some games.
When they brought in Evan Ingram, I looked at a guy who is in his 30s, who is at the tail end of his career.
Okay. You were on it more than most.
He's already played 9 seasons. Kenneth Walker has played 4. He's young. He certainly can run the ball. I mean, of all those running backs, who's the best running back? Pure running back.
I like Walker as a pure running back.
And the guy has shown he can catch the ball. Coach him a little bit. Design plays for him. It's not like he has a case of the fumbles. Right. It's not like he can't catch the ball. He's shown he's able to do it. How about believe in your coaching staff and your play calling and use him that way, and let's see what happens. Instead of looking at him from another team and say, well, I'm not so sure. He has shown he can do it. And he has shown he could do it at a high level. He wasn't, and by the way, who was the pass receiving running back on the Seahawks anyway? Wasn't it Charbonneau?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. He's splitting time with Charbonneau. With Kenneth Walker as the primary back, what in the world do you think this guy could do running and catching the ball?
Listen, I like him. I'm a little hesitant that they might have pause. I like him. I would take him. I would sign him. But what's weird, it's so funny when you talk about it that way, they do feel like they coach guys up and they show confidence in guys where, to me, it makes no sense with Bidet when Javonte clearly should have been benched 2 years ago, where nothing's happened. Like, they show undying confidence for certain guys based on, and here's people like, why? Based on what they see in practice that we don't see during the season.
Right.
But that's, to your point, it's like, why wouldn't you give the benefit of the doubt to a guy like Walker that he can catch the ball? And you see him, and the best coaches do. Like, we're bringing him in and not worried about what he can't do. It's what he can. Not, oh, you can't do this. You would never want to typecast a guy when he's your top free agent. Right. It's just, with Ingram, we've never gotten a full story. My guess is, behind the scenes, in practice, they weren't seeing enough. Right. And because it was very clear he got beat out by Troutman. That's the end of the story. He got beat out.
Yep.
And it was like, holy crap. But that is, in fairness to Sean, he'll say that. It's not, once you get in here, it's about what I see. And clearly that happened with Ingram. Obviously, with a running back, you're not going to take him in free agency and he gets beat out, except that's not going to happen. But they need one. I think you and I can agree, right? They need one.
I know numbers are not everything, but let's just look at how Kenneth Walker played in terms of catching the ball in the biggest 3 games of his career with Charbonneau on the bench. He was targeted 11 times. He caught the ball 9 times for 104 yards, nearly 12 yards a catch. And his longest catches in each of those 3 games, 15 yards, 15 yards, 20 yards. don't you want to judge a guy in his biggest games?
Yeah. And on the fit.
Instead of like, when I covered Sammy Sosa with the Cubs, he would hit a ding dong in the 7th inning when his team was down 9-1 and pad his stats that way, along with corked bats and PEDs. But that's not really the point here. Kenneth Walker proved in the biggest moments he's very good at catching the ball. I don't know what else you really need to see.
The reason to like Walker isn't even that. It's that he's going to give you 3, 6, 5, 7, 6 when he runs. Breece Hall is more like 2, 0, 2, 3, 4, 45.
Right.
Like that's the part with Hall. Like he's the home run hitter, where Walker's going to give you singles and doubles. That has value, real value, and that Etienne's probably somewhere between those two guys. I saw Etienne in London against the Broncos a couple years ago. He was so clearly the best player on the field.
Yep.
I'm like, that's the guy I'd love to have here.
Right.
And Ben, I don't watch him every time now. I like him as a player, his versatility. So if they don't get Walker, I'd be really fine with Etienne.
I think it is going to be Etienne, and they're very fortunate that they have 3 very good running backs to choose from.
Yep, I agree.
As opposed to some years, you're like, I got to pay this guy even though I don't want to. He's good, but not great. He shows potential, but he hasn't gotten there yet. You have 3 guys who all have demonstrated ability.
And you could even bring Dobbins in at 1 year 3 as your third down guy. I mean, I would do that. Can you imagine the upgrade of him over Bidet as your third down guy?
That's like having 3 all-star scorers on the floor at the same time, and there aren't enough basketballs to go around.
Who 3? It'd be 2.
Here, do you think Dobbins would come back? Let's say they brought in Etienne. Okay, you think Dobbins is going to re-sign here unless he has 0 options?
I'm just saying he might not have any other great options.
That's fine. So you get him at a ridiculously low price. So whoever you bring in as your free agent, your top free agent, that guy's going to get the ball. Probably 55% of the snaps. Is that fair to say?
Yep.
You got to give RJ Harvey at least, don't you? I mean, he was a high draft pick. Don't you have to give, and he has shown potential. Don't you have to give this, and he's a really good pass catcher. Don't you have to give this guy at least 30 to 35% of those snaps? So if you give him 30% of the snaps and it's 55% of the other guy getting the snaps, that's 85% of the snaps. Unless J.K. Dobbins has 0 options, do you think he's going to be down for coming here to be on the field 15% of the time?
I don't know.
He has to.
Unless he has to. You're probably right. It's just he loved it here. He loved the fit. And I'm sure if you told him in a private moment, he thinks he could beat out Harvey for that role. And he might be wrong, but we'll see. You can't have enough talent at that position. They got exposed the last 9 games. It really bit them in the ass. So I want to see them, if it means bring Dobbins back at $2.5 million, and because he's got nothing in June, bring him back.
Yep.
Figure it out.
Yep. All right, that's going to do it for us. Hot Takes Goodman and Renck. Make sure you get in some good questions today, Troy.
I'm going to do my best.
I know you will. Do you know what you want to ask?
It's the play calling thing. 100%.
Yeah, but it's going to be asked before you. So what are you going to ask?
It might not. Let's have confidence in
you're going to be a bulldog, Troy, the Bulldog Renck in a press conference. Let's say you don't get that. I hope you do. But if you don't, what's your backup plan? Because is your column going to be about, I'm guessing your column is going to be about who's going to be calling plays. Is that right?
It depends on the answer. The answer.
So what's your backup plan?
I've got a backup plan. I'm not going to tell you my backup plan. That's why it's a backup plan.
Nobody watches this podcast. Make it the best possible day you can.